All right, let's go. All right. Bruins are still 18-3. 18-3, haven't lost at home, and that's pretty good.
I would have to say not many people would have thought that at the beginning of the year.
I didn't think that. I thought they'd be good, but I never figured they'd be.
Well, a lot of people were predicting them not making the playoffs this year.
What, the Bruins?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they
guaranteed. That is a guarantee.
At the beginning of the year, you could have got good odds that they were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. That coach
they got a new coach, the goalie, the whole thing. So.
Well, the coach must be doing something right. New Jersey, Lindy Ruff is doing. They fired Lindy Ruff. Fire Lindy. Won't go into that again. And it's sorry, Lindy. They're 18-4.
Do you know that they're the youngest team in the NHL?
Is that right?
They're the youngest team in the NHL.
That's one team.
And they won 15 straight games, or 14.
Yeah, and they're playing well, too.
Yeah.
You see them play, they just have that extra little something.
And one thing I got to say, though, Dad, like you and I saw that Hughes play. He played for the Toronto Marley Minor Midgets. Yeah. And he was good, but I never thought he was going to be as good.
You know why? Because the league is like that now. I hate to say it, but the league is in a European league. I mean, and that's how guys get hurt, because the guy sees something coming down and he's got his head down and it's just too juicy to pass up. But usually they pass it up. There's not much hitting in the league now.
But you remember that Hughes, and he was super talented. He could really handle the puck.
Yes, he is good. And Erik Karlsson, the only problem with him is his contract, which is not a bad thing to have. 11-4 for the next 4 years.
Yeah, San Jose, it'll be tough for them. They'd have to eat half his contract for the rest of the term.
Yeah, you'd have to do something. Spencer Martin.
We've been talking about him for, 2 years now, Cindy?
Yes.
2 years we've been talking about him. And he was 5-1. Now he's 6-1 with the game last night as we speak Sunday morning. And 6-1, that's pretty good. Now, I don't think he'll play.
See, when they only got 8 wins, he's got 6 of them.
Yeah. I don't think he'll play the next game.
Yeah, they play today. This is Sunday morning. They play tonight, so it's back-to-back.
Well, we'll see. But if he doesn't play after that.
Okay, Dad, so Spencer Martin won in Colorado. Tough game.
Tough team.
Then he wins in Vegas. Again, another tough team
playing at home.
And then they play the Sharks this afternoon. This is Sunday morning. And
no, he won't play today.
So Tuesday they play Washington at home.
I'm anxious to see who he plays Tuesday. I guarantee you, if I know Bruce, he'll play Spencer Martin.
But let's say he doesn't. Let's say he puts Demko in. Do the players kind of question what he's doing now?
They know. Players know before anybody. And the players will know. I'm saying that Bruce will not play. If he does, then I'm going to have.
Yeah, so that's the thing is who's he going to play Tuesday at home?
Is it determined by who if they win or not on today?
Yeah,
Sunday?
let's say Demko beats the Sharks.
How could he not come back then with the same goalie on Tuesday?
No, he's got to come back with Spencer Martin with 6-1. Holy dynamite!
Yeah, that's because I think he's in a bit of a pickle now. Like, as you say, Demko's making $5 million for the next 4 years.
Well, I don't want to go into that, but he's making $5 million. The other guy's making $750,000. Who would you play? That's what the question I'm asking right now.
But my thing is, if I was a player and the one goalie's struggling, and they win in San Jose, and San Jose is one of the weaker teams this year, and he goes in and stones Colorado and Vegas,
and he looks good.
He looked good. Would you? The team? Are the players going to say like, "What's going on here"?
Yeah. Well, no. They know what's going on. He's following the,
and they would lose a little bit of oomph with their coach, right? If they say, "Hey, he's playing to the management,"
they'd lose a lot.
Yeah.
Because
well, we'll talk about this next week to see what happens.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see who he plays Tuesday. All right. Kyle Clutterbuck, I have to talk about him.
I'll call him right because he got mad last time.
Yeah.
Cal Clutterbuck.
He just set a record.
Clutterbuck.
He just set a record, and Dustin Brown had the record. But I remember.
Well, tell him what the record is. He has, in his career, 3,632, well, that'd be over now, hits. That's the most hits of any player ever in the NHL since they've been keeping track.
And Tim, you got down there what he said?
Yeah, he was interviewed.
Go ahead.
He was interviewed, and they asked him about his love of physical hockey, and he says, "I've loved it ever since I was able to," he said. "It started with the Rock'em Sock'em tapes, the Don Cherry tapes. I used to get them every year for my birthday. You watch the goals and the plays made and the hit. Even when I first started, I remember being pretty good at it. I really enjoyed the thrill of laying a big hit."
Now, do you feel, can I just say, so now do you feel bad that at one time you called him Buttercup?
Yes, I do feel bad because here's what happened. He was fighting one time, and he was fighting a guy with a visor, without a visor. He was watching him, and the whole team was watching Coach's Corner. Everybody used to watch.
Right. You said, I remember him saying he was in L.A., so they were watching,
and they were sitting and watching that, and he got in a fight with a guy that didn't have a visor, and the helmet come off and everything. And then he took his helmet off and the visor off and went in the penalty box. And I said, "Yeah, there you are." And I'm giving him heck for fighting with the visor and everything like that. And I call him Buttercup, and the team just went nuts laughing. They call him Buttercup from.
Can you imagine how embarrassed he was?
Yeah,
sitting with his teammates.
Buttercup. I don't know. Anyhow,
and then
did you mean to do it, or was this a slip of the tongue?
No, I just meant to do it.
Okay.
And
so it was premeditated.
Yeah. I used to be able to do stuff like that. So
fast forward that summer.
Yeah, that summer I'm at a golf tournament, and I was standing up watching. I way up on second floor, and I was all by myself, and I saw this guy, and I knew it was him. I knew. Somehow, I didn't even know he was at the thing, but I knew the way he was walking, he was coming right at me.
He had a mission. I was beside you, and I could see him coming, and he was really walking fast, and he looked up, and he walked faster. I said, and I was going to go, oh, this is going to be good. So I was pretending I was playing with pieces of paper, so I could stick around to see what he would say to you.
I forget what, he come up and he said, "I'm Cal Cutterbutt." And I saw, "How you doing?" Oh boy, this is going to be good. So anyhow, he told me how all the guys laughed at him and everything.
Called him Buttercup for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. And his parents. I think he mentioned his parents.
Yeah, his parents. Everybody.
He knew how to handle you. If he had to come on strong, you would have said, yeah. But he was really his feelings were really hurt.
As the hurtful guy.
Yes.
He was hurt. He was hurt.
Played the victim.
He did. Yeah, he did very well. And then after that, all you did was praise Clutterbuck, how tough a guy he was after that.
Well,
yeah, him and Martin.
Yeah.
Martin got in a fight last night with anyhow. Martin, and what was the other guy? Oh,
Cizikas. Casey Cizikas.
The three of them used to lead the league every year in hits. Yeah, so it was good. Well, I have to tell us about Brendan Moore. He did something that I've never seen before.
Well, I haven't seen it in a while. Carolina's
I've never seen this.
Playing with against the Jets. So they're down 3-0, and the Jets are up 3-0, and then with about 5 minutes to go, he pulls his goalie. They score one.
You know that? Can I jump in for a minute? In the Montreal Canadiens, they wanted to beat Terry Sawchuk's record. He was going for a record. He was at his shutout going, and told Blake, my smartest guy ever in hockey, pulls his goalie because he doesn't want him to get a shutout. And boy, and Detroit got really mad.
Oh, yeah, I would think. So Terry Sawchuk had a shutout.
He had a shutout.
And the other team, and they were losing by a big score.
3-0.
And he pulled the goalie.
He pulled the goalie with 5 minutes to go. That's the first time.
That's not
just
nice.
To break the shutout. Boy, the Detroit players get mad. And he got the shutout.
So anyway, so Jets are down 3-0, or Jets are up 3-0. Brendan Moore pulls it. They score 3-1. And then he pulls the goalie again, 3-2. Then he pulls the goalie again. They score 3-3, and they tied it up. But they lost in overtime.
Yeah, they lost in overtime.
Josh Morrissey, who's a defenseman, got 2 overtime winners in a row. That game and then the next game, and they were both breakaways. So they all said, How the
He's
hell
a defenseman, too.
He's a defenseman. How's a defenseman get a breakaway?
Yeah.
And boy, he looked like a 50-goal
Boy,
scorer.
bing, like he had no problem at all. He was turning as he shot.
Yeah, see, they're like Winnipeg. They're kind of quietly doing very well.
Yeah, well,
Like nobody's talking about them, and they're doing
Well,
well.
they're
But
doing-
so, what do you think happened in the game in Dallas the other day? What do you think with that? Where Hellebuck really gets corked.
well, I think when a guy gets corked like that and he's got his mask off, he's laying face down. He should have. I don't understand that.
So,
one.
in case you didn't see it, it was in Dallas and the Jets, and Hellebuck, the goalie, comes out to cut down the angle, and there's a big collision. And
And it was.
It was a biggie. It wasn't like it wasn't a soccer dive.
Yeah,
he really got corked, and his helmet went flying, and he laid down on the ice, and the puck went behind the net, and then went around the boards, out to the point, over to another guy, and Dallas scored in an open net while he was laying on the
and
ice.
he countered it.
And they didn't blow the whistle
No,
with
they
the goalie
counted
down.
it.
I still think
Unbelievable.
But and then the funny thing was the night before, or 2 nights before, Toronto's playing New Jersey. New Jersey guy barely taps Matt Murray, Toronto's goalie, skate, and then 5 seconds later the puck goes in, and they call it goalie interference. And you go, you just
they should. 3
don't-
goals.
They had 3 goals called back that game. So
I've never seen that. I've never seen 3 goals called back.
And
I
what-
don't think the one should have been called back where it hit his skate and went in. I don't think he kicked it
I
in.
don't, but
It hit something else.
But that reminded you, Dad, of a story because after the third goal called back, New Jersey fans started throwing stuff on the
Right.
ice. And the Toronto had to leave.
And I remember we were playing. Kevin Morrison and Bob Kelly had a terrific fight. I'll go into that someday.
That was New Haven, right?
Yeah, it was in New Haven, and it was a new arena, and they had the armrest. You know, the armrest. It was just they were just sitting there, and somebody found somebody,
They were loose.
and they started to throw them, and bing, bing, they were banging off the glass and everything like that. So we had to get off. We had to go in till they get through, and we went in the referee's room. And I never forgot that. We were just sitting there waiting to get out, and there was a sandwich there, and it must have been a referee's sandwich or some linesman sandwich or whatever. I took a big bite out of it. I had a lot of fun back in those days.
Well, that was, you said, Kelly, Bob Kelly.
Kevin Morrison
And Battleship Kelly.
Oh boy,
And it was for the heavyweight championship.
yeah, I'll go into that someday.
And then eventually Kevin played for the Hammocks after that.
Yeah, and I played, and then he played for Colorado too. And
Oh,
he could,
really? You got him in Colorado,
Oh, I liked him. I don't get me wrong.
even though he fought Kelly.
well,
Well,
So who
anybody
won?
that fights Kelly.
props for
Can
fighting
I
Kelly.
ask who won?
Well, need to say who won.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he never lost a fight. He lost one.
Okay, Dad. So I put on your Twitter account, I did a flashback, and I had an old Rochester Democratic Chronicle photo of Battleship Kelly taping his knuckles.
Oh boy.
It was
And-
worse though. It was with tinfoil, wasn't it? Too. He used to put
No, he never put the
Tinfoil was part
was
of it.
tape.
So the question is, you were saying, do you think he may have been the best fighter of all time?
That's a tough one. Well,
Like
in his prime,
Like
in his prime, he had long arms. His arms were so long, and I'd have to say he was the best.
So you would
when
say,
when he was in his prime, and he felt like it.
yeah. So like if him and Probert, like not Probert on a mission, like when he was with Ty in New York,
Yeah,
but
no,
just like a normal fight,
Yeah.
and Battleship and Probert would be, I'd say that'd be pretty tough to call.
That would be tough to call when those two got it because they were both big, eh? And but a regular guy, he used to in Pittsburgh. They used to play "Anchors Away, My Boy" when he used to come on the ice. He was.
I got to tell one quick. I think I told this story before, but I'll tell one quick story. I was during the Rochester game. Sometimes I sat down between the bench and I was sat at the scorers table, and then there was the Amerks bench, and then there was the penalty. And back then,
Believe it or not, folks,
They
they
used
used to sit together.
they used to sit together.
A police between them.
So Jake Rathwell high-sticked Bob Kelly by accident, I'm sure, and cut him a little bit. So they got into a fight, and Battleship kind of gave it to him pretty good. And they got into the penalty box, and Jake Rathwell started to mouth off on him. Well, Bob wasn't going to take that, and really gave it to him in the penalty box. And the guy that sat between, you had
Bob Wetmore.
Bob Wetmore, gentleman sat. He was so upset because his wife had just bought him a brand new London Fog.
It was white.
Overcoat, and there was blood all over it by the end of the game. And he was going, "You owe me a jacket. You owe me a coat. If I take this to my wife, she bought this for my birthday. Look
I think
at
he
it."
was kidding.
But I know, but it was just covered in blood. So I don't think you can get blood out of a white London Fog coat.
So. He was the policeman, right?
He was the one that Jew walked up to,
right.
and the German Shepherd was in the back with a head the size of a cantaloupe. Oh, it was big. And I thought, and we both froze. We thought, the dog would bite it.
I went up to it and put my hand in. How you doing? How you doing? All this.
Yeah, and started to scratch his head, and he never did anything. Boy, he was a big German Shepherd.
So, Cindy and Dad, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Spreads.ca. They're a Canadian-owned online casino and sportsbook. And if you sign up now and use the promo GRAPES, you get 10 spins on the big wheel for some big dough. They'll match your deposit up to $500.
Pretty good.
And your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25. So they're busy with hockey and football and the World Cup and the whole thing. I was just saying, we were talking about the World Cup, Dad. I know you don't watch soccer.
I don't.
But
I watched a little bit.
How neat the players look, their hair. Like
the fans looked good too.
Yeah, but my wife's a hairstylist, and I looked and I said, "Are you telling me that guy didn't get his hair professionally done?"
How about
before?
the coach from Canada?
Yeah, and she looked at the coach and she said, the coach for Canada, she says, "No, he got that. There's no way he did that himself. He got that done today."
And they look, and I got to admit, the soccer players look good.
Yeah,
none of them look scruffy like the football players or basketball.
Or baseball.
They
really look good. Even the fans look good.
Yeah, I mean, even like some of the USA guys have man buns kind of pulled back, but most of them really short hair, shaved, and then the beards are all
perfect.
Trimmed.
Not a lot of gel out there, boy. A lot of gel.
Yeah, and you're looking like, because I watching with Ling, and I said, "You're telling me a guy knows how to make that hair look like that without going to a barber?" And she looked at a couple guys, going, "I don't know. He must be awfully good because that's an awful lot of gel in that hair." And
the coach for Canada looks pretty good too.
Yeah, well, we hope Canada does well, but they're in tough.
Well,
so the other thing is that this got me mad the other day. I was on Spreads, and it was Arizona in Carolina. And I thought I should just throw like $5 on that game because the odds were like 4-1. And I thought, nah. And then the next day, look, Arizona beat them 4-0.
Oh.
Well, it all depends the mood the players are in.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at.
Well, look at Pittsburgh. They did pretty good on the road, and then they go home and they lose to the Leafs.
Right, and then you look at the Leafs, they're kind of on a road trip, and then they're playing Detroit tomorrow or Monday, so you go, it's the end of a road trip, but I think they'd probably come home from Pittsburgh.
He's got them pretty wired up pretty good.
Yeah. I'll tell you that we talked about Matt Murray, and I was a big doubter of him at the beginning of the year, but boy, he looks good, and if he keeps playing like that.
He did play the last game, but he when he's in the net, boy, they have a lot of confidence.
Yeah, the other kid played well too last night.
But Matt Murray, if they stick with Matt Murray, and it looks like they're going to, they got a good shot. I mean, they'll get by the first round if he keeps playing the way he's playing.
So, Dad, we're going to talk about a couple more stories on Joe Crozier. But before we do, because I'm kind of rooting for this kid, Shane Wright got sent down to the American Hockey League.
Boy, no. What has he got? Four goals in
4 goals in 3 games.
3 games. And if this kid plays, he'll score the goals. And I don't understand them not playing him.
Well, I imagine he's going to go to the World Juniors.
Oh, he'll be great. And he is a hockey player. And then he'll go back to Kingston, I hope.
Yeah.
And then my hometown. And then they'll trade him to a first-place club.
Either London or Kitchener. They always seem to end up in London and Kitchener, those guys.
Well, I want to talk about Joe Crozier. I got a couple of more stories I want.
Yeah, so he was your old coach in Rochester, and we were telling funny stories, him kicking the can and breaking his toe and then wearing his slippers till they were almost rotted off. And so what are some of the other stories you had about him?
I used to play, and we won 3 championships and 1 final in the last 4 years I played. And then we went out to Vancouver and won it there. And that's pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
4 championships and 1 final.
I wore my ring today that I mentioned the last show.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I mentioned the ring that Mom got from The championship?
Yeah, that's a pretty nice looking ring.
It is. The petite.
And then the funny thing was, we were talking about Johnny Canuck, and Vancouver wore that uniform.
Yeah, right after that.
They were right after that. But
Didn't do them much good, but
no, but I think that's their best uniform.
maybe that's what started them on that win. Well, first of all, I want to talk about Jim McKinney. Jim McKinney was really fun. Jim McKinney was like, that's how good a team we had. It was down to who would play and who wouldn't play. And Jim McKinney, they told him before they,
Well, Jim McKinney in junior, they compared him to Bobby Orr.
Bobby Orr and Jim McKinney. That's what that's. I'm not.
And Jim McKinney said, "Boy, did they get that wrong."
No,
You should do a whole
say,
show on Jimmy McKinney.
Boy, was he good looking, eh? When he was.
He looked just like Jim Morrison.
Yeah, he had long hair.
Well, he was in the movies.
Was he?
Jim McKinney.
Oh, yeah. He played in...
Youngblood, wasn't it?
No.
No, that was Rob Lowe.
Not Slapshot. The Face Off.
Yes.
Face Off.
You
Well,
can tell.
anyhow, I'll tell a story about him in Cleveland. So he said, Jim, you're not playing. So, you're not playing. But in Cleveland, they had a door that was about 6 inches wide, and the wind had come, and if you didn't watch it, it would slam, bang. If you
Like a little vacuum, and the wind would suck it up.
bang.
Bang. Yeah.
So he just slammed the door and Joe Crozier said, "That's what I like when a guy doesn't play. He's mad. That means he wants to play." I told Jim again. He says, "Are you kidding?" He says, "When I was there, I was eating popcorn. I was in a hurry up to get to the popcorn." Now that I think of it, that's when I got stitched. I got cut. You never get stitched till after the game. So I'm laying there, and I'm laying on the table, and the guy comes in. The doctor figures that nobody's going to get stitched up after the game. So I'm laying there, and I'm stretched out, and I got my head on my glove. So it sits up a little. And the guys are taking a shower, and the steam is coming out of the shower. I can hardly see the guy's face. And I remember he had a great big gray coat on, a tweed coat on. And he's stitching me up. I can hardly see his face, and he's stitching my eye up. So anyhow, the guys are throwing towels at me. "Come on, Graves, let's go. Come on, we got to get on the bus."
Cutting into their beer time. Didn't you say you thought he might have had a few gin and
Well,
tonics?
he had a few gin and tonics. I wasn't going to say that because he never figured guys stitched up after the game. But Joe was a good guy. He really was a good guy. And I painted his house. He knew I was unemployed. I didn't have any money. And I remember I painted his house. He told me it peeled after. I don't think it peeled. So anyhow, I got to tell one more story about Joe. We were in the playoffs, and we were at a place called Batavia. Oh, I must tell you about Batavia sometime. And the cook made us sandwiches. He cut the ham so thin you could hardly see it. So we're sitting there, and Joe sat away from us. I can still see the booth he was sitting in. And he ordered a tuna fish sandwich. It was thick, big, thick one. Really a thick one. And then the phone call came in that he had to go to a phone call, and there was sitting there, and all the guys were sitting. I took a great big bite out of it and put it right back in. Boy, was he mad. He ordered a new sandwich. Some guy had squealed on me, and I didn't even see the guy go up to him. But I guess he knew it was me.
Dad, I think next week we should talk about why you retired from hockey.
Well,
and Mom was not happy.
Yeah, it's usually the other way around. It's the other way around. The wife is not happy.
And it wasn't from injury. You had a good back, good
Well, we
knees.
just won 4 championships in a row.
Yeah.
And it has to do with Joe Crozier.
And it has to do with Joe Crozier.